Good morning all. Today we'll discuss this topic, tending operations, right? So first we need to understand what is tending operations. So generally at any stage of life there are certain operations carried out for the benefit of forest crop. That is basically a tending operation, right? And this kind of operation on the crop itself cover and competing for vegetation, and that's include weeding, cleaning, thinning, and lots of other activities like that. And but it is exclude soil working, drainage, irrigation, and burning, something like that, right? And through these operations, right, forests have a different stage of growth in order to provide a healthy environment for their development. That's why the tending operation has to be carried out. So now through the definitions one can easily understand that, as I already told you, that operations carried out for the benefit of forest crop at any stage of life. Any stage means from settling to the mature stage we are talking about. So in between any stage this kind of operation has to be carried out. And through this operation, right, the crop has to get benefited, right, because it is going to reduce the competition, it is going to enhance the facility for them to get more and more sunlight and more nutrient, and so that the growth rate will be much better. So that's why tending operation has to be there. Now the purpose is why we need tending, right? Need is important. So there is two need we have. One is sanitation, second is to provide growing space for the trees. So sanitation means what here? So this sanitation is an act of reducing the chances of insect and other disease. That is sanitation. Again I am repeating, right? This sanitation is kind of activity through which we are able to reduce the chance of insects and other disease, right? And how the sanitation can be done there, then the trees which are susceptible, basically which are susceptible or which can easily attacked by the insect, or which are injured, or the broken tree, or the weak disease, or infected by insects are removed. That is sanitation, right? And the second purpose for operations tending operation is to provide growing space for trees. It means we need to clear the space between two subsequent trees. The purpose is that we are going to reduce the competition, right? First, the reduce the competition. Second, the tree will get more light, more water, more other nutrient. So if space will be there, then the tree is going to extend their masses freely. So these are the two need for tending operation: sanitation and to provide growing space for trees. And when we are going to conduct all these activities, so obviously we will get a result in the is a kind of achievement which confirms the human sense of liking here itself. Now these things I have already explained to you, that it is essential cover operation crop itself of competing for vegetation include weeding, cleaning, thinning, felling, pruning, but not include soil working, drainage, irrigation, and burning, etc. Right. So what kind of tending operation that need to be carried out? So there are total 6 that has been listed over there: weeding, cleaning, thinning, improvement, felling, pruning, and climber cutting. So one by one I like to explain everything here. So let's start with the weeding. First we start with the weeding. What the weeding means, right? So weeding means here, so before going to the weeding, first one need to understand that the term weed. What is weed? What is weed, right? So any unwanted plant, right, any unwanted plant that is going to interfere or tend to interfere with the growth of the individual of favorite species, that is called weed. Again I am repeating, what is weed? So weed means any unwanted plant that is going to interfere or tend to interfere the growth of the individual of favorite species, right? That is weed. Now after that we need to understand weeding. What is weeding? So weeding is a kind of tending operation, right, that has been carried out in the seedling stage in the nursery or in a forest crop, that involves the removal or cutting back of all woods. As we look at the image itself, removal or cutting back of all weeds, and weeds is an unwanted plant that is not suitable for our favorite forest crop, that need to be removed or cutting back, that is weeding. This kind of operation called weeding here. Now the objectives. What are the objectives of the weeding? So these are the simple objectives that has to be explained. To protect the crop from suppression, to reduce root competition from moisture, to reduce transpiration or water loss, to remove light conditions. So one need to understand first, to protect the crop from suppression. So obviously weed will be there. So weed, it means we are getting more number of plants in a piece of land, right? So what will happen? Then more competition of moisture, more competition of nutrient, more competition of other resource will be there. So because of more competition, our desired crops may suppressed, right? So if we are going to carry out this weeding operation, it means we are going to remove that unwanted plant, then the suppression can be removed, right? Then to reduce how this transfer water loss, because we all know that transpiration means the water loss through the leaf. So obviously if more plant will be there, so more leaf, and more leaf means more transpirational water. So when you're going to remove the weed, so we are going to reduce the transpirational water loss. So these are the major objectives that need to be covered through the weeding. Now method of weeding, what kind of method of weeding that we need to know? So these are the method: mechanical, biological and chemical method. So let me explain all the method one by one here. So first we go for this mechanical method, right? What is this mechanical method means? So mechanical means using the instrument, some kind of instrument. As you look in the image itself, some kind of instrument has to be there through which, and this kind of method is also called a physical method and is also known as mechanical method, right? It means some instrument has to be used there, and then the human effort we are able to do the weeding activity. So these are the mechanical method that's been listed over there: tillage, hoeing, hand weeding, mowing, burning, flooding, grazing. So let me explain you one by one. Right, and these are the chemical methods. So these are the basic chemical has been used there: 2,4,5 trichloro phenosic acetic acid, then pentrachlorophenol, then ammonium sulfate, sodium sulfate. These are the chemicals that has to be used, and these chemicals also known as herbicides, right? Then these are the biological method that has been properly listed over there. Biological method in which we are using some living species to curtail the growth of weed here, right? So first let me explain you this mechanical method. So first we need to know the tillage. What is tillage here, right? So tillage means through the tillage we are removing the weed from the soil, right, resulting in their death. Fine. And when we are going to do this kind of practice is tillage, so this is going to weaken plant through the injury of root and stem pruning, reducing their competitiveness or regenerative capacity, right? So now hoeing, you all know that hoeing has been the most appropriate and widely used weeding tools for time immemorial, right? It is however still a very useful implement to obtain result there. Then hand weeding, obviously using this is the physical remover of pulling out weed by hand. Then we have a mowing, right, and through this we have a mowing again. Then burning means we are just using the fire to suppress the weed there, right? Then flooding means we are just killing plants by reducing oxygen availability for plant growth, right? And how this reduction has been made? So we are just flooding the whole field there, right? And then we have a grazing. So the repeated removal of weed top growth by grazing animals like close mowing etc. has been done there. So through the grazing also we can curtail down the growth of weed here. Fine. So this you can see that this is a biological method that we have. Now the question is there, when the weeding has to be done, right? So these things also we need to understand here, when the weeding has to be done. So one can easily because without knowing that this is very difficult to know how this operation has to be carried out. So when the weeding is done, right? So generally weeding in it is done in a seedling stage basically, right? And there's one common practice that it must be done before weed is going to start suppressing the seedling crop, right? So the things has to be, this weeding practice has to be done at the seedling stage, right? And also weeding should be carried out when the seeds have sorry when we weeding should be carried out when the weeds have tender roots and shoots. Then the things can, then we can easily remove the weed and we can easily suppress the weed there, right? And since we all know that the number of weeding depend upon the intensity of weed growth and the rate of growth of seedling of the favored species, so at least 3 weeding activity has to be carried out there, first in the first year, then second in a second year, and one in a third year. So this process can be can be followed for this weeding activity there. Now where weeding has to be done? So the weeding has to be done in those areas where weeds are tall and dense and the light cannot reach the ground easily. So these area has to be selected first for weeding activity, right? Because all the weeds are tall, if weeds are tall and dense and light is unable to reach the ground, then this is going to affect the regeneration process and we are unable to grow our favored species there. So again I am repeating where the weeding is to be done. So weeding has to be done in those areas where weeds are tall and dense, that area is to be selected first. Now how weeding is done? Fine. So how weeding is done, that has to be already discussed with all of this. All this mechanical and then biological chemical process has to be used for conducting the weeding process, right? And then weeding limitations. So what are the basic weeding limitations we have? Because despite weeding removes all plants that compete with the crop species, but some crop species by nature love to have shade partial or complete, while some others are shade tolerant, right? So these are the basic limitation with the weeding activity. Now the next tending operation is cleaning. So one need to understand what is cleaning. So before going to the method, first we need to understand the cleaning. So cleaning is carried out in a crop which has not crossed the sapling stage and is defined as the cutting made in order to fetch the best individual from undesirable one of the same age which interfere or likely to interfere with the growth of desired individuals. So what the basic advantage will get through this cleaning process? So the advantage that one should get through the cleaning process is the proper regulation of the composition of the crop, particularly in the mixed crop. Now what the method is there? The method is same like a weeding. These 3 methods, mechanical, biological and chemical, are described under the weeding. So I have already explained that method earlier. Now the next operation is climber control, right? So first we need to know what is climber. So climber is basically a plant that attach itself to the other plant, right, or object such as post and the walls, that is grow at climber. So as you look at the image itself, it is going to attach with the plant or the wall or any kind of support they get that, and they are supposed to grow there, right? So these are climber and their removal is necessary. Why it is removal necessary? Because it is going to twine with the plant and it is going to suppress the desired plant there, right? And how the things has to be done there? So this difficulty is basically faced in nursery. Usually seedlings are twined by climbers. Afterwards the internode is increasing the length and the climber pulls the head of seedling. Since the host climber can't be extended, so shoot of the seedling has to be broken, and through this the favored species can be damaged. So this all about for this tending operations. So rest of the tending operations will be discussed in the next video. Thank you